Let us dissect the most sanitized, weaponized combination of three words in the English language: performance, improvement, plan. It sounds like a blueprint for growth. It reads like a heavily inked roadmap to your ultimate potential. But let us look at the actual anatomy of this document. Performance is simply a corporate euphemism for legal liability. Improvement is a calculated, mathematically engineered runway for your termination. And the plan is nothing more than the heavily notarized paper trail required by the state to deny your unemployment claim. You remember the exact moment the calendar invite appeared. Usually a generic 15-minute check-in. But this one quietly included an HR representative. You walk into that sterile, glass-walled conference room. You sit across the mahogany desk from a manager offering a tight, apologetic smile. And then, they slide the manila folder across the table. It is just a few sheets of standard letter-sized cardstock, but the moment your fingers brush the edges, you feel your stomach drop through the floorboards. Your chest tightens, folding in on itself like a hastily crumpled piece of scratch paper thrown toward a wastebasket. You are suddenly acutely aware of your own heartbeat, pounding out a frantic rhythm against a ribcage that feels entirely too small. They lean in, their voice dripping with practiced, seminar-trained empathy. "We just want you to succeed here. We are aligning your output with the new quarterly targets. This is a coaching opportunity." That is the lie. The great, folded deception of modern corporate culture. They hand you a document that claims to be a life preserver, while simultaneously tying it to an anvil of impossible metrics. The language is perfectly typeset. It uses warm, collaborative verbs, but the margins are intentionally set too narrow for human survival. You are expected to nod, swallow the dry lump in your throat, and sign your name on the dotted line, officially acknowledging that your career is now on life support. For a high achiever, a hustle culture addict who has spent a lifetime tying their fundamental human worth to their daily output, this is a profound psychological violence. You have always been the pristine, gold-starred sheet at the top of the stack. You built your entire identity on being undeniable. Now, you are a sticky note rapidly losing its adhesive, about to be casually discarded by a machine that does not even know your middle name. You force a smile, you shake their hands, and you walk back to your desk, clutching a document that has already dictated your corporate autopsy. Before we unfold the true manipulative mechanics of this institutional gaslighting, I need to know I am not speaking into an empty filing cabinet. The isolation of this process is by design. It is strategically meant to make you feel completely alone, uniquely defective, and entirely at fault. If you have ever been handed that manila folder, if you have ever survived the crushing bureaucratic weight of a PIP, or if you are quietly sitting at your desk suffocating under one right now, go down to the comments and tell me about it. Leave your own paper cut moment down there. The only way we strip the power from this sanitized corporate paperwork is by reading it out loud, together. The modern human resources department did not evolve from a counseling center. It evolved from a locked steel filing cabinet. To understand the psychological trap you are currently caught in, you have to trace the ink back to its systemic source. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of late-stage capitalism, the corporate entity is a sprawling, ravenous machine composed entirely of ledgers, profit margins, and liability grids. In this environment, at-will employment is a double-edged sword. Yes, they can technically discard you at any moment, for almost any reason, but a sudden, unceremonized termination leaves a messy, jagged edge. It invites lawsuits, wrongful termination claims, severance negotiations, and a chaotic, empty desk that temporarily halts the assembly line. The machine despises friction. It requires a clean, sterilized, legally defensible cut. Enter the Performance Improvement Plan. It was never designed by organizational psychologists to nurture human potential. It was engineered by risk-averse corporate attorneys as an impenetrable liability shield. The PIP is a meticulously constructed paper trail, a chronological alibi proving to the state unemployment office that the machine was deeply, legally patient with your sudden, unexplainable incompetence. HR is not there to mediate your professional growth or hold your hand through a tough quarter. They are there to ensure the paperwork is signed in triplicate, dated, and securely bound before they slide your livelihood into the industrial shredder. Think about the agonizing, cold-blooded mechanics of this transition period. If they simply fired you on a random Tuesday, they would lose your immediate output while scrambling to draft the job listing for your successor. The PIP solves this operational gap with cruel, calculated efficiency. It is a mechanism designed to squeeze the absolute final drops of ink from a dying pen. By weaponizing your own ambition and deeply ingrained fear of failure, they keep you docile, terrified, and producing at maximum capacity for 30, 60, or 90 days. You are frantically trying to prove your worth to a committee that has already stamped your personnel file as obsolete, while they use the very time you are buying them to interview your cheaper replacement. You are essentially paying for your own corporate funeral. And the true, insidious cruelty lies in the illusion of the blueprint itself. When you look at the physical document they handed you, it appears entirely reasonable. The language is sterile, polite, and meticulously typeset to mimic a collaborative effort. The goals are laid out in crisp bullet points that look measurable and objective. It presents itself as a sturdy paper bridge across a difficult chasm. But the geometry of that bridge is fundamentally flawed. The targets are quietly shifting. The metrics are laced with subjective evaluations. The margins of error are intentionally set far too narrow for any exhausted human being to navigate without tearing. You are being asked to fold yourself into an impossible, multi-dimensional shape, using paper that they have already soaked in water. It is a mathematical equation engineered for your failure, cleverly disguised as a second chance. The document is not meant to be successfully completed. It is meant to be breached. They are simply waiting for you to miss one arbitrary deadline, to smudge one microscopic line of ink, so they can point to your own signature and say, "We tried everything," but they simply folded under the pressure. You are not participating in a rehabilitation program. You are walking through a heavily documented, slow-motion execution. The human nervous system cannot read a corporate contract, but it instantly recognizes a predator. When you sit in that room, your brain is violently torn between two conflicting realities. The auditory processing center hears the sterile, supportive vocabulary of human resources, coaching, alignment, synergy, mentorship. But your amygdala, the primal alarm bell, buried deep in your skull, registers a lethal, calculated threat. This creates an agonizing cognitive dissonance, a psychological paper jam that completely paralyzes your executive function. You are being institutionally gaslighted, told by a smiling representative that the heavy steel blade hovering just above your neck is nothing more than a particularly aggressive paperweight. For the high-achieving corporate worker, this cognitive dissonance triggers a deeply self-destructive trauma response. A lifetime of American hustle culture has conditioned you to view every professional obstacle as a test of your personal grit and moral character. Your ego simply refuses to accept that the game is mathematically rigged. Instead, you hear a starting pistol. Your brain initiates a toxic hyper-focus, flooding your nervous system with panic-induced cortisol. You decide, with tragic arrogance, that you are going to outwork a legal liability protocol. You begin attempting to fold yourself into increasingly complex, agonizing origami shapes just to fit inside the new, ever-shifting margins they have drawn for you. You willingly sacrifice your evenings, your weekends, and the quiet sanctuary of your own mind, desperately trying to prove your intrinsic human worth to a committee that views you as nothing more than a misaligned decimal point on a quarterly ledger. Your daily life devolves into a desperate audit of your own existence. You begin obsessively logging every single minute of your day. You create meticulously color-coded spreadsheets to document your own desperation, highlighting every minor victory in fluorescent yellow ink, praying it will be enough to balance the impossible scales. You draft frantic, overly detailed emails at 2 a.m, ensuring you leave a massive, undeniable paper trail of your absolute dedication. But because the performance target is fundamentally designed to move, the sheer exhaustion quickly compounds. Your sleep schedule is completely shredded. Your personal boundaries are erased like fragile pencil marks under a heavy, abrasive rubber eraser. You are spending 90% of your cognitive energy defending yourself against microscopic, documented critiques, leaving only 10% to actually execute the impossible volume of work they now demand. The psychological toll of this defense mechanism is absolute, visceral devastation. You are essentially bleeding out onto company letterhead, one drop of ink at a time. Every single morning, you wake up, drink your coffee, and willingly feed yourself, inch by agonizing inch, directly into the jaws of the industrial shredder. You do this under the tragic, desperate delusion that if you just work hard enough, if you just prove your unwavering loyalty, the heavy machinery will suddenly develop a human conscience and mistake you for a blank page. But the machine does not have a conscience, and it does not read the fluorescent ink of your late-night efforts. It only registers the grinding friction of your resistance. You are draining your final reserves of sanity to polish a desk that has already been cleared for someone else. Yet, polishing that cleared desk until your knuckles crack and bleed is exactly what the modern self-help industrial complex demands of you. If you open LinkedIn in the middle of a panic attack, a chorus of smiling career coaches and corporate thought leaders will offer you the exact same devastatingly toxic advice. Take the feedback on the chin. Lean into the uncomfortable conversations. Show management your unwavering grit. Optimize your morning routine and rise to the occasion. Your company might even suggest you use their sponsored meditation app to practice mindfulness while the bureaucratic blade is actively dropping toward your neck. This is the great, crippling illusion of the American meritocracy. Because we are high achievers, we are fundamentally conditioned to believe that if we just apply enough raw, unadulterated effort, we can rewrite any narrative. But applying conventional productivity hacks to a performance improvement plan is the equivalent of trying to mend a violently shredded document with a single, brittle, yellowing strip of Scotch tape. You are trying to use brightly colored highlighters to alter the legal terminology of a contract that has already been notarized in permanent black ink. You cannot outwork a legal protocol. Working harder, logging more hours, and sacrificing your physical health on a PIP does not fix the underlying malfunction. It only generates more heat, more desperate friction, in a heavy mechanism that is actively rotating to expel you. The extra spreadsheets you build, the frantic midnight emails you draft, they are not evidence of your salvation. They are just more cheap paper, being willingly shoved into a chute that leads directly to the corporate incinerator. You are giving them free, perfectly formatted labor during your own professional wake. To survive this, you have to brutally deconstruct the true architecture of the document you are fighting. A PIP is not a performance review. It has absolutely nothing to do with your actual talent, your work ethic, or your capacity for growth. It is a legally mandated waiting period. It is a slow-motion firing, cynically disguised as a collaborative mentorship program. The Human Resources Department is not evaluating your sudden burst of frantic, sleepless dedication. They are just watching the calendar pages turn. They are simply waiting for the mandatory 30, 60, or 90 days to expire so their liability window quietly swings shut. Your manager is no longer your supervisor. They have been legally transformed into your auditor. They are not tracking your daily victories. They are meticulously cataloging your minor, inevitable failures, gathering every dropped staple, every missed calendar invite, and every awkwardly phrased memo to build an airtight, bulletproof dossier for your termination. The psychological betrayal shatters your executive function because you are treating this like a final exam that you can still miraculously pass if you just pull one more all-nighter. In reality, it is a printed receipt for a transaction that has already occurred. The heavy rubber stamp has already slammed down on your personnel file. The word discard is already there. The ink is just taking 30 agonizing days to dry. And the longer you sit there, desperately trying to fold a perfect, obedient paper crane out of your own termination notice, the deeper and more permanent the psychological paper cuts become. The only way to stop bleeding from 1,000 deliberate paper cuts is to finally take a pair of scissors to the contract. You must initiate a radical, immediate cognitive override. This requires absolute, cold, calculating, emotional detachment. You have to stop viewing this manila folder as an indictment of your human worth and start seeing it for exactly what it is: a post-dated pink slip, a 30-day severance warning. The moment you accept that brutal reality, the agonizing panic dissolves into a lethal clarity. You must immediately redirect 100% of your manic, trauma-induced hyper-focus away from saving a dead job and toward securing your own survival. You do not quit. You do not give them the satisfaction of an unpaid clean break. You sit right back down at your desk, but you play an entirely different game. You begin searching for a new job, strictly on company time. You use their high-speed internet to schedule your external interviews. You use their expensive, heavyweight cardstock to print your updated resume. You bleed their corporate printer ink dry to draft your exit strategy. You execute the absolute bare minimum required to keep their bureaucratic cogs slowly turning. You offer just enough polite compliance to keep the human resources auditors pacified while you quietly, methodically plot your escape. When your manager sends another passive-aggressive, heavily documented critique of your output, you do not let it shatter your executive function. You do not write a frantic, defensive reply at midnight. You simply nod, you smile, and you file that piece of paper away in a dark drawer you will never open again. Let the paper burn. You are no longer trying to prove your fundamental value to a steel filing cabinet. You are actively severing the thick twine that tied your personal identity to their quarterly ledger. You must realize that you are not broken, you are not defective, and you are not a failure. The margins were simply rigged from the very beginning. Reclaiming your mind from this corporate dystopia starts with recognizing the traps they lay out for you in plain sight. It starts with refusing to be folded, categorized, and quietly disposed of in the dark. If you are ready to cut the heavy bindings of hustle culture and untangle the psychological damage they left us with, subscribe to The Paper Cog. Join us as we keep unfolding these uncomfortable truths together. Because the machine is relentless, and you should never have to face the steel teeth of the industrial shredder alone.